Welcome sa Anniversary Special Webinar Series ng Institute for Solidarity in Asia. Ngayong taon, ipinagdiriwang ng ISA o ISA ang ika-25 anibersaryo nito tulad ng sinabi sa atin ni Dr. Jess Estanislao. 25 years of helping build strong, responsive, and accountable public institutions in the Philippines. This year's theme, Isang Bansa, Isang Pangarap, or One Nation, One Dream, is a powerful call for unity and shared purpose. Hindi lang po ito selebrasyon, ito isang paanyaya para magkaisa tayong lahat tungo sa mas matatag, makatao at maipagmamalaking Pilipinas. This two-part webinar series titled Isang Bansa, Isang Pangarap, Strengthening Institutions, Transforming the Nation, brings together our most inspiring institutional partners from across the country. Opo, inspiring. Sapagkat ngayong mga panahon na ito, kailangan natin ng inspirasyon, ng totoong inspirasyon bilang mga Pilipino. Ngayong hapon, maririnig natin ang kanilang mga kwento, their governance milestones, lessons learned, innovations, and the ways they've fostered interregional and intersectoral collaboration. Tama po, narinig natin kanina si Dr. Jess Estanislao, sabi niya mag-focus tayo dun sa half-empty na glass. At sila po yung makakasama natin para tiyakin na mapupuno ang baso natin. It's truly an honor for me to moderate the first installment of this limited series featuring governance champions from Luzon and the National Capital Region. Regions I also proudly represent. At ngayon, ikinagagalak ko pong ipakilala ang ating mga tagapagsalita na tunay na huwaran sa larangan ng mabuting pamamahala. Ang una nating speaker ay ang Chief of Strategic Studies and Strategy Management ng Armed Forces of the Philippines. Opo, narinig po ninyo, AFP, Armed Forces of the Philippines. He is a multi-awarded military officer with years of frontline leadership experience and deep expertise in governance, strategy, and risk management. Trained at Harvard and other top institutions as both a strategist and educator, he continues to inspire through leadership excellence and service. Let us all welcome Brigadier General Joel Paloma.
Good afternoon sa ating lahat. Magandang hapon and welcome to our ISA engagement on governance. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po at magandang hapon sa inyo, BGM. Ang susunod naman nating speaker ay isang Career Executive Service Officer at kasalukuyang Undersecretary ng Department of Trade and Industry o DTI na namumuno sa Supply Chain and Logistics Group. She is known for her innovative leadership in the public sector, particularly in planning, performance monitoring, and evaluation. An ISA or ISA Fellow and 2015 CES Very Innovative Person Awardee, she exemplifies transformation and governance. Let's give a warm welcome to Undersecretary Mary G. Pacheco.
Hello, Ma'am Sonia. Nice to be here. Hello, BG, Paloma. Thank you. It's so nice to be here in this anniversary special webinar of ISA, Isang Bansa, Isang Pangarap. I miss Sec Jess also. Nice to see him. Hello, sir.
Hello. At maraming salamat po. Ang ating ikatlong speaker ay kasalukuyang Department Head ng isang LGU. Makati City, Social Welfare and Development, at dating Undersecretary ng DSWD. With over 4 decades of service, ang tagal niyan as a dedicated social worker. She pioneered the Yakap Bayan program, now part of DSWD's national strategy. Awarded the Dangal ng Bayan and recognized as one of the outstanding women of the Cordillera. She remains a strong voice for local development, gender equality, and social welfare reform. Please welcome Ms. Joyce Niwanin.
Thank you, Ma'am Sonia. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be here. Hello, Sir Jess. Happy anniversary po.
Maraming salamat po. At ang huli natin Ngunit hindi pa huhuli ay ang Medical Center Chief 2 ng Mariano Marcos Memorial Hospital and Medical Center. She is a respected healthcare executive and clinical leader, active in various national health organizations. Her achievements include the 2021 Outstanding Filipino Physician Award and the 2017 Gawad CES Award, reflecting her commitment to research-based, service-oriented hospital leadership. Let's all welcome Dr. Maria Lourdes Otaiza.
I'm Bangamalam, kada kayo amin. Good afternoon to all. Thank you, Sonia, for the introduction. Happy anniversary to Isa, Dr. Estanislao. Glad to join you.
Maraming salamat po sa ating mga tagapagsalita. Hindi pa natin sila naririnig na sumagot sa mga katanungan sa ating panel discussion, pero sigurado natin na marami tayong matututunan sa kanila at sigurado nag-uumapaw ang kanilang mensahe ng inspirasyon at ng mga halimbawa na pwede po nating pamarisan. Mayapat ganap panapon po kay kayungan, as we say in Kapampangan. Nandito po ako sa Pampanga ngayon, bahagi siyempre ng Luzon Island, pinakamalapit sa Central Luzon, sa Metro Manila. It is truly an honor to be in the presence of leaders who have walked the talk of governance transformation. Ito po may mga pruweba na, hindi po ito mga drawing lamang. Ito pong kanilang ikukwento sa atin ay mula sa kanilang mga karanasan. Now, let's begin our discussion. As we prepare to celebrate Independence Day in just 2 days, ilang araw na lang po, araw na ng kalayaan. Para sa mga tulad po natin na talagang dinidibdib natin ang ating pagka-Pilipino, talaga namang napakahalaga sa atin ang ating pagtitipon ngayon at ang ating conversation, ang ating webinar. Pagkat dito natin muling napapakita ang ating pagmamahal sa ating bayan. Ito po ang perfect time to reflect on how institutions shape national freedom, progress, and resilience. Through the Performance Governance System, PGS, of ISA, these institutions have undertaken strategic reforms in leadership, systems, and service delivery, achieving measurable results. Opo, measurable. Hindi po abstract, hindi po drawing, sabi nga nila. Measurable. Kaya po nating sukatin kung ano yung mga tinutukoy nilang pagbabago. So hindi po siya simpleng motherhood statement. Kasama po natin ngayon ang 4 na leader ng kanilang mga institusyon na may pagmamalaki natin. At ang una kong gustong tanungin, si Bijen Joel Paloma. Gusto ko po malaman, ano po ba ang problema sa Armed Forces of the Philippines? Bago po ninyo niyakap ang PGS, meron po bang kailangan kayong baguhin nung mga panahon na yon when your institution decided to adopt the PGS, sir?
Thank you, Ma'am Sonia. Gusto ko lang balikan yung kasaysayan ng ating bayan. If you go back to EDSA 1 of 1986, euphoric yun sa buong bansa. Pero may kwento noon before EDSA 1 of 1986. So yun ang mga issue that somehow may kinalaman ng armed forces. Then pagkatapos nun may EDSA 2, may EDSA 3, yun rin ang kwento ng ating bayan. So isa rin yun sa mga issue na kung saan ay may kinalaman ang armed forces at apektado ang armed forces. At yung pinaka-latest ng 2003, yung tinatawag natin na Oakwood Mutiny of 2003. So yun yung tatlong mga kaganapan sa ating history wherein nag-isip ang armed forces through ISA at pumunta sila sa PMA at inintroduce nga itong performance governance system as a way of coming up of a roadmap. So doon po nagumpisa ang armed forces from the Army, the Navy, at saka yung Air Force at hanggang sa Armed Forces of the Philippines. It started in 2005, doon po sa PMA, ang tinatawag na pinakaunang PMA Roadmap 2013 pa po yun. And that's the first time na nakita ko si Doc Jess, sinasabi niya na may pag-asa at may patutunguhan kung talagang tanggapin natin kung anong nangyayari. So yun po, it's an issue of trust, it's an issue of credibility. Ang issue na hinaharap ng armed forces at isa ito na kaya pumasok ang ating armed forces PGS with the help of ISA. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Bijen. Napakaganda ng inyong naging tugon at palagay ko naalala pa ng ating mga kasama yung mga panahon na yon at magandang pinaalala niyo yun sa atin sapagkat napakaganda nga na balikan upang maunawaan natin bakit kailangan ninyo ng PGS. Siguro sa puntong ito nais kong tanungin si Yusek Mary Jean Pacheco sapagkat alam ninyo, sa mahabang panahon ng DTI ay kinilala naman bilang mahusay o isa sa mga pinakamatinong institusyon sa pambansang pamahalaan. Kanya gusto ko malaman, interesado ako na malaman, ano po ba ang inyong case for change noon? Bakit ninyo kinailangan na i-adopt ang performance governance system, Yusek?
Yeah. Sonia, thank you for the very generous description of the Department of Trade. I were very happy to hear that. Memory lane din tayo like ni Vigen. I really remember because I used to be the planning officer of the DTI, and I will not be ashamed to say that it was 12 years ago that this all started. And I really, really cannot forget our Secretary of Trade at that time. That was Secretary Gregory Domingo. He came to the DTI and siya talaga ang sasabihin ko nag-trigger kasi alam mo, ma'am, ang kanyang punto de vista, yung tinatawag nating key performance indicators. How we are measured. So, the change that we had was really institutional. Diba sabi kanina ni Sec Jess, talagang one government one entity at a time, one agency at a time. So, this is really true for us, and I'm glad that even if we have really stakeholders who appreciate the work that we do, alam niyo po, ang DTI, low budget lang kami, pero ano po ba yung hinahawakan namin? We have to promote exports, increase investments in this country, promote micro, small, medium enterprise development, protect consumer. Pag dalawa ho, meron kaming business side, tsaka meron kaming consumer side. So ang tanong, at marami kong doon ko na-realize nung si Secretary Domingo yung nag-open, yung mga metric nyo, hindi siya tama sa pag-measure ng inyong ginagawa. I think this is the heart of the performance governance system. And when we really were introduced to the PGS, nako, hindi ho madali ang naging mga performance metrics na nakasanayan natin bilang government. Ito po talaga ay tinuro talaga sa atin that it should be, of course, outcomes and external, mahalaga po yung external stakeholder. So ma'am, it is really more of, I would like to say that the change was really to improve the organization. I have a lot of stories to say later on. Meron pa po ako idadagdag, but the question remains, kung ano ba yung nag-trigger? Really, it was our desire, the leader's desire to improve the organization and to make sure that the work that we do reflects, is reflected in the performance measures that we have. So, ang ganda ng mga tools ng performance governance system. At kung yung mga nanonood sa atin ngayon, ang favorite ko dun yung change agenda. Alam ho natin lahat yan. Alam natin lahat yan. Marami akong thumbs up na dito sa atin, Vigen, di ba? Yung ma-identify ng isang institusyon kung ano yung dapat baguhin sa kanya. Napakaganda nun. So, yun po ma'am, it really was the intent was really to improve the organization, to make sure that we are responsive to the stakeholders that we serve.
Maraming salamat po, Yusek. At habang nagsasalita kayo, natatandaan ko yung mga unang leksyon na itinuro din sa amin ng ISA noon. Sabi nga, what you cannot measure, you cannot manage. What you cannot manage, you cannot improve. Yun po siguro yung pinakamahalagang sistema na natutunan natin pare-pareho ng ating yakapin ng performance governance system.
Yes.
May dalawang institusyon po tayong kailangan tanungin. Gustong-gusto kong itanong ito sa inyong lahat sapagkat interesado marahil ang ating mga kasama ngayon na nakikinig sa atin, nakikilahok sa ating webinar, kung ano talaga yung mga nag-udyok sa ating mga institusyon na yakapin ng PGS. So I'd like to ask, ito pong ating dating USEC din ng DSWD na ngayon ay Department Head ng Social Welfare Department po, no, ng Makati City. Ito po LGU. Alam natin kung gaano karaming dapat baguhin sa LGU para nang sa ganon mas makapaglingkod ang mga local government units natin sa mga vulnerable sector ng ating lipunan. So I'd like to ask Ms. Ma'am Joyce Niwane, kung ano po ba ang binago ninyo sa Makati City, particular po sa inyong departamento, na siyang dahilan kung bakit kinailangan ninyong maging bahagi ng ISA at yakapin ang performance governance system. Ma'am, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Ma'am Sonia, and everyone. Good afternoon once again. Actually, when I came here in Makati, my expectation was okay na Makati kasi rich siya, di ba? But along the way, I realized that our citizens are maybe pampered. And now there's a feeling of entitlement among our people. So that really pushed me to introduce PGS because I came from DSWD, as you said, and I was the one who handled the PGS of DSWD. So I really understood because my boss then was the one who received the Palladium Award, General Bautista in London. So he really also was a champion. So he encouraged me to really look into PGS, and I embraced PGS when I was in the SWD. So we also passed the stages of the PGS. And when I came here, I saw that I believe even if we will start with just first with our own department. So this is not LGU wide, it is only the MSWD. And Sir Chris was also excited because this will be the first in the whole country that a department in the LGU is starting PGS to influence the whole LGU. That's the aim. As I said, we would like our citizens to be more proactive and really empowered because the traditional welfare that we give is not already, I think it's more than enough, but we need to see to it that they learn to give back, to also do something for government, to do something for the people outside their comfort zones. So, yung po yung aming aim is to empower our citizenry to become a model for other LGUs to see that really, bottom line is it's the people who should be really doing the things that government would only augment or really help them find their way, not the other way around. So that's what we're trying to do now with the PGS. So we have started it with the initiation stage, wherein we really put into really concrete plans our strategic map. And in fact, we were given the Gold Trailblazer Award for that. So we really appreciate the knowledge and the things that are being discussed with us, with Sir Chris as the one who is always giving us the advice and telling us how to make it better. So we would like that Makati will be a model for other LGUs to follow, through the PGS. That they could also journey with us and see that governance scorecards are very important, and the performance scorecards are very important as well, so that they would know the why and what and how of things that should be done. And probably, as Sir Jess earlier mentioned, we try to fill up the half full or half empty glass, that we are all trying to do one department at a time or one unit at a time, just like what we're trying to do here in Makati. We are the only ones yet in doing PGS, but we are already discussing this with a lot of the other departments here in the LGU, and trying to show that PGS is the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma'am. And finally, we get to hear the case for change of Mariano Marcos Memorial Hospital from Doctora Otaiza herself. Doctora, please go ahead.
Yeah, I joined the Mariano Marcos Medical Center with that name 23 years ago. But although it was called the medical center then, it only had one mechanical ventilator, hardly any medicines in its pharmacy. And of course, the laboratory was not that spectacular. So it was one of the Mona Lisa hospitals of the Department of Health, or of the government for that matter. Well, when we lie there and we die there. So for me, it was an injustice that we would get less quality of care 470 kilometers from Manila. You know, even if you're indigent and you were in Manila, you could go to all the medical centers there and get the attention needed. But here, because of the insufficient funds, you could hardly access that. And that was unfair because the Ilocos region is also contributing to the economy of the Philippines. So we tried to institute reform, and maybe around the 15th year, we had some reforms in our processes already, and I think we were already ISO certified by then. But I was feeling exhausted and a little desperate. How do I institutionalize the reforms I introduced? So when Heart Center invited us to the governance forum, I said, we have to go there because this is one hospital I trust. And immediately we signed up for PGS. And that's where everything started getting better. Of course, I think the key was getting together a critical mass of people who understood what the vision was all about and how we would all get there. I have always wanted to develop my personnel, empower them. So the theme of the strategies of ISA were really along my line. So we got from strength to strength, the COVID notwithstanding. So I think it's been an exciting journey for us here at Mariano Marcos. We received several accomplishments, and well, I'm very happy to share. We were just informed that 11 out of 13 of our research papers submitted to the International Hospital Federation in Geneva were accepted for presentation. That's a far cry from 23 years ago, because now we're really going into not only service, but also training and research. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctora. Those who are with us now in the webinar, I think are quite familiar with the ISA governance pathway. No? Meron pong tinatawag na initiation stage, compliance stage, may proficient stage, tapos may institutionalized stage. Hindi ko alam kung nagbago na yon o nakalimutan ko na. No? Pero, well, 20 years ago or 19 years ago, I think, it was almost 20 years ago when we started also embracing the PGS in an LGU in Pampanga, San Fernando, Pampanga, under Mayor Oka Rodriguez. we were always interested to find out sino yung kamukha namin, anong governance pathway na sila. Meron na ba silang breakthrough results? Ano yung milestone na nakamit nila so far? Noong mga panahon na yon, that was almost 2 decades ago, no? Naku, parang nagkakaroon tuloy ako ng sentimental journey dito sa ating pinag-uusapan. At this point, BJ and Paloma, gusto ko pong itanong sa inyo, will you kindly share with us where AFP is insofar as the governance pathway is concerned, and what major breakthrough result did you achieve so far, sir?
Thank you, Ma'am Sonia, no? So gusto ko lang balikan ng konti yung 4 na stages. So quickly, yung initiation stage, meron kayong 3 aspeto. Meron kang charter, who you are, saan mo gustong patungo, at kung ano yung ginagawa mo. Tapos pangalawa, meron kang roadmap, makikita visually. Pangatlo is that meron kang scorecard. So pag papunta ka ron, dapat may score ka. Parang laro ng basketball na may 4 na quarters. Kung mananalo o hindi. Tapos pagdating mo po sa yung pangalawang aspeto stage is the compliance stage. Meron kang mga alignment mechanisms na kailangan magkakakabit-kabit ito, hindi siya standalone. So nandun na siya. At ang pangatlo, yung proficiency stage po, yun yung gumagana yung mga elements na yon na in-establish mo ng compliance. At ang pangapat, yung institutionalization, ay talaga dahil gumana na siya, ay magre-resulta ito ng breakthrough. So meron kang breakthrough result, may mga milestone ka. So yung 4 na yan, yung Armed Forces of the Philippines, noong 2016, nag-institutionalize kami. At noong 2018, 2017, yung Navy ay naging Palladium Hall of Fame. Yun po yung sa Harvard at in-award yun sa London. At noong 2017, yung Army nag-Palladium Hall of Fame din. Tapos yung Armed Forces ngayon, tuloy-tuloy kaming lahat. Meron kaming Navy Scale Plan, meron kaming Army Transformation Roadmap, meron din kaming Flight Plan, at meron kaming AP Transformation Roadmap. Ngunit ang AFP ngayon, kami dito, saan na kami? So meron na kaming 4 at nireplicate po namin yan. Maliban doon sa 4 na yon, ang Armed Forces nyo ay meron na po siyang tinatawag na recertification stage. Yung recertification, pag nag-institutionalize po ang bawat unit ng Armed Forces at units and offices, ay good for 2 years lang po yun. So after 2 years, i-recertify yung institutionalization stage mo. So another breakthrough goals na 2 years magiging resulta siya. So yun po ang ginagawa ng ating Armed Forces of the Philippines. Na hindi yung pag nag-institutionalize ka tapos na po lahat. Ito ay tuloy-tuloy. So every 2 years lang po yung institutionalization dito sa Armed Forces. Nagre-recertify kami every 2 years. And that develops and advocates and promotes innovation and a culture of excellence. Thank you po.
Wow, ang ganda nun, ano? Iniisip ko nga, kung inabot mo na yung institutionalization stage, baka tamarin ka na. Baka akala mo, narating mo na talaga yung dapat mong marating. Tama po, dapat talaga every 2 years mag-recertify. At palagay ko maraming magiging interesadong malaman kung paano niya yan ginagawa, BJ and Paloma. But at this point, I'd like to ask our other panelists, ano po, kung sino po yung nais maunang sumagot dito po sa same question. Ano po yung resulta o meron na po ba kayong milestone na nakamit? Pwede po DTI, Makati, or si Dr. Otahiza po.
Thank you. I'll answer right away, Ma'am Sonia, no? Kasi kanina when I was asked the first question, immediately, no, I really pointed to the organization in itself kasi talagang we are a government, no? So mahalaga sa atin yung governance, no? Dapat tama yung pagpapalakad sa atin, 'di ba? Tayo ay talagang we are consistent with the values that we uphold, right? Sabi nga natin, tayong mga government, isa yung ating mantra, no? Isang karangalan ang maglingkod sa bayan, ano? Yan talaga yung kinakarir natin talaga yan. So, what did we, so like, I think like most of you here, si DTI po talaga, no? Ano kami, medyo kakaiba yata kami kasi yung initiation namin, tsaka yung second stage, yung initiation compliance, one take kami doon sabay. Kasi nag-ano kami, parang nagro-roll talaga kami. And then, in 2014, proficiency. And then, in 2015, so every year, so na initial, institutionalization. And then, happy talaga kami kasi we were also awarded as the Islands of Good Governance. So, ano po yun, ano? So, alam din natin na tayo, pag we are members of, we subscribe to the performance governance system. So, we are really purist in a way relative to our breakthrough goals, 'di ba? Yun yung medyo kakaiba tayo sa normal, no, na institution ng government. Tayo medyo alam nating lahat to na mahirap, hindi madali ang ating mga goals kasi binabantayan tayo nila Chris Saenz ng ISA. That's the technology, no? That's the technology that we have adopted, no? So, in our case, syempre sabi ko nga sa inyo, kami ay exports, in investments, kami ay consumer protection. Tapos, ito yung nandito sa amin, ano, na naging indicator namin talaga, yung breakthrough, one of our breakthrough is our ranking. Kasi competitiveness ranking po tayo, Philippines, no? So, nandyan yung WEF ranking natin na tumaas. Talagang nag-jump tayo. I remember kasi in 2014, nung dati po tayo ay parang 85, tapos naging 59 tayo when we received our institutionalization. Pero alam nyo, tapos na po kami, no? Graduate po kami ng 2015. Pero how do we call it? It stayed with us, di ba po? I mean, because it was already embedded. Our training, our performance governance system was embedded, no? All throughout the years. So alam nyo, I have to tell this as one of our alam nyo po yung isa naming kinarir na ranking, ito yung ease of doing business. Kasi ito yung talagang laging sinasabi sa DTI na dapat maging madali ang pagdenegosyo dito sa Pilipinas. Ito po talaga yung nag-jump po, no? It really jumped. I think, no, we from 124, I think, in the ranking in 2019. Alam niyo po, natapos kasi nawala na ho yung ranking, natapos na niyo ng World Bank, naging 95. Alam niyo, hindi ho siya, it's not, I think it is a goal that we are very proud of. Pero Ma'am Sonia, but let me just tell you, go back lang to our organization na ano ba yung naging na-institutionalize? Alam niyo ho, I am very proud to say that I believe it is maybe just DTI that really had approved our scorecard dashboard system as our strategic performance management system. Lahat po tayo dito, we subscribe to the Civil Service Commission of the OPCR, IPCR, may ganyan po. Pero si DTI ho, after we had our institutionalization, we sought the approval of the Civil Service Commission. At ang ginagamit po namin, scorecards and dashboards. Hindi ko kami gumagamit ng OPCR, hindi ko kami gumagamit ng IPCR, kasi scorecards and dashboard. Scorecard po yung OPCR namin, dashboard po ang IPCR namin. Alam po natin kung ano po yung ibig sabihin ng dashboards, ano yung difference. We are very picky on the performance indicator of a person, of the individual, our employee, and we are also, we have high standards relative to organizational outcomes. At alam din ho natin yun, di ba? Yung paano tayo mag-target and all that. So, iba po yung format namin, iba po talaga. Kami po talaga kung ano po yung enterprise scorecard natin, kinakascade po namin yan hanggang sa lowest rank, hanggang driver, analyst, lahat po, division chief, hanggang director po, no? Ganyan po talaga. We are all subscribing. We have what we call a dashboard. So, until today, ma'am, we are doing it. That this is our strategic performance management system in the DTI.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us, ma'am. In the interest of time, we will now move on to part two of our panel discussion, and we will talk about people, money, and environment. Sabi nga po, natural resources, human resources, and capital resources are your governance foundations. Institutions must align this with their long-term strategy para magbunga ng inclusive at sustainable development. Siyempre, madalas natin naririnig yung inclusive at sustainable development. Pero talagang totoo. Kailangan nating balansehin yung tatlo na yon. Human resource, capital resource, at natural resources. So, I'd like to ask, una muna siguro si Doktora Otaiza. Siyempre, nabanggit niyo po kasi sa kwento niyo kanina, napakalimitado ng inyong mga resources, no? Nung mga panahon na you just joined the hospital at subsequently meron na kayong mga nagagawang mga malalaking improvement. Paano niyo po na-manage yung transformation journey niyo samantalang alam natin na napakaraming pangangailangan ng isang ospital at palaging kulang yung mga requirements para masabi natin lahat ng kailangan ninyo para maging mahusay na ospital ay nandyan na. How did you assess and manage po your available resources during your transformation, Dr. Otaiza?
We won't have enough time to discuss that. Pero, pag wala kang pera, hanapin mo saan ka pwedeng kumita. And shored up the PhilHealth reimbursement personnel. We had to hire more people para i-process yung mga PhilHealth payments. Made sure that we had drugs in the pharmacy and that the laboratory was really working efficiently. Kasi ito yung mga money earning ng hospital. And then we involved the community. We asked the elderly, you want to invest in a golden botica? Meaning, if you wanted to have your, yung mga mabango, eucalyptus, which is not really life-saving, but essential to the elderly, we could get it for them at the cheapest prices. So they invested, I think, 50,000 in the beginning so that we could acquire their diapers, their Vicks VapoRub, so on. And that's where they patronized our botica. And it started earning, then eventually we returned the capital to them because they wanted to put up a piggery, fine. But then we already had the core of that, we called consumer fund. So we identified sources of funding to be able to complement whatever little money that we had. We also had, what do you call this, bangko, the mothers who were pregnant could put in a little money, whatever they wanted, so that by the end, meron silang dudukutin na pera pagkapanganak nila. It takes them 9 months to deliver. So we did some innovative programs like that. Our social workers talk to the LGUs. Okay, guys, you want to sponsor your patients here. You can help us by number one, enrolling your patients in PhilHealth kasi kailangan nun enrolled sila dapat may premium na binayaran. But now wala na yon, di ba? You can sponsor them or you can put in a trust fund, start a trust fund in hospital for your town, for your barangay. So we have several trust funds that yun ang pinagdudukutan. Tama ba yung word? Yeah, that's where we get the support. We had to, for the other resources, there was no choice but to lobby for a Republic Act to increase our bed capacity to 700. And that came out in 2018, I think. We started our initiation in 2017, but we had already been working on a Republic Act and took some time, but eventually it came out in 2018. So the manpower increased and then the bed capacity also increased, so the support from the government also increased. So there has to be an institutional effort. We were actually one of the first hospitals to increase our bed capacity. And eventually, many other DOH hospitals followed suit. I think that's an example, a concrete example that we have to go down and look at what's going to help us, what's in the community that can help us, because they're really very willing to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Doktora. I would like to ask now, Ma'am Joyce Niwane, kasi alam nyo, nabanggit kanina yung pondo, yung pera, no? Pero parang yung Makati City, ang intindi ko, parang hindi naman niya problema yung pera, parang mayaman na LGU yung Makati. So ang gusto ko naman i-focus ng tanong ko, yun pong learning and growth, yung learning and development among your people. Kasi nakita ko sa inyong CV kanina, Ma'am Joyce, ang tagal niyo po palang social worker. At matagal din kayo nagtrabaho sa DSWD. Isa pong problema parang napapansin ko sa mga LGUs. Parang nakulang ang social workers. At kulang din yung mga daycare workers. Ang dami kasi ninyong trabaho sa LGU. Kayong mga nasa social welfare, ano po. So Ma'am Joyce, can you tell us paano nyo na-ensure yung continuous learning and growth po among your people in the department sa Makati City po pagdating sa social welfare?
Thank you very much. Yes, that's true. As you have said, Makati really is still the richest city in terms of per capita. Of course, Quezon City is still number one, but when you talk about per capita, it's really Makati. And that is one thing that we're proud here because due to the fact that you stated that kukonti lang ang mga social workers, totoo yun. That's the reason why we have the University of Makati. We opened the course for social workers. And we are now trying to open another one for second coursers. Kasi madami kaming mga non-social workers who would like to have to take up social work so they could really implement properly, like they could they could face the courts, they could go to court because they now have a license. So those are the things that we're trying to do, and we are continually helping our daycare workers by helping them learn other methods. So right now, we have partnered last year with OB Montessori Green Hills with, of course, Preciosa Sullivan and her daughter, Ma'am Sarah. And we are now converting our daycare centers into OB Montessori system. So that means that all our daycare workers were trained and continuously being trained so that the discipline that the Montessori system is really pushing will already start with our young children. Starting from an early age, they will already learn the right manners, how to resolve problems on their own, be more independent rather than dependent. Because as I said earlier, our concern now is too much dependency on government. That they always think that you need school supplies, Makati gives it, which is true. And they give not only just bags. When they say bags, these are good quality bags, shoes, from shoes to uniform to everything. It's almost given. It's almost free. Even medicines is free. So those are the things that are being experienced by our people here. So not like the other LGUs where resources is very scarce. And that's the opposite. So they are thinking of how to be able to produce all the things that are necessary, including training, which is the capacity building of their own workers. For Makati, we have at least 40 social workers registered. And still kulang pa rin sa tingin namin. We have one social worker per barangay here in Makati because I believe that we have to start with the grassroots, start down, and start with the children. The earlier, the better, to inculcate empowerment and discipline and self-reliance. So that's what we're trying to do now. We are very happy that the Bachelor of Science in Social Work is also open. So we have now 2 classes with around 100, and we have to have more, and we are also promoting this second courses in other universities. So the other universities are also opening, and I think that's how we could be able to help increase or multiply ourselves at this point, and we would be able to help others also who like to, even if not taking up social work, but inculcate the principles that are there by continuously teaching people in all sectors, letting them embrace the principles of social work. That's it. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po, Ma'am Joyce. At I'd like to go back to Bijen Paloma. Kasi po, yung budget, alam po natin, AFP, no? Lagi yung problema yung budget. We're interested to learn from you. Paano nababalansa yung operational and strategic needs ninyo pagdating po sa budgeting, sir?
Thank you, Ma'am Sonia, no? So, napakaganda ng tanong tungkol sa pera, no? So, alam nyo, balikan ko lang yung concept ng PGS. Meron tayong 4 na alignment mechanism. Yung functions, kaya may scorecard, resources, ito yon. I'll dwell with that. Tapos yung E, which is expectation, kaya may third party tayo, and then the messaging. So, dun sa E, sa R, which is resources, unang-una, ma'am, is that the armed forces, maraming sistema ang armed forces. The Department of Defense meron din. However, tinignan namin sa ating Department of Budget and Management, meron tayong PREXI. So pagdating mo sa Department of National Defense, meron din kaming DSOM, Defense System of Management. Resources din yun. Pagbaba mo dito sa armed forces, meron din kaming kapamaraanan at doon namin bubuuin yung aming annual plan and budget, yung APB. Sa lahat ng gobyerno meron yon. So meron kaming pinasa or nirecommend na tinatawag namin na AFP, Strategic Management System. It is a policy, it is a directive. How to synchronize yung language ng DBM na PREXI na magkakarugtong siya at align siya dun sa tinatawag na Defense System of Management ng Department of National Defense. Para yung APB namin, yung annual plan and budget which is ginagawa ng gobyerno ay naaayon dun sa gusto ng budget management DBM, gusto ng Department of Defense, tapos yung gusto namin. So ganun po yung sistema na gusto namin. We are integrated para hindi po magkawatak-watak yung pagtingin namin sa budget according to DBM, according to the Defense Department, and according to the Armed Forces. At meron kaming capability development plan. Doon po namin ikinakarga ito. So yung capability development plan, tinitignan po namin yung 5 taon. Pero pag tinignan namin, because of this systems of management, pag tinignan namin yung 5 taon, sa 5 taon na yon, dapat alam mo yung ang unang taon, pangalawa, pangatlo, pang-4, yung bigger picture. So simply, ang philosophy namin dito, nung wala pa tong AP Strategic Management System, noon, ito ang gusto ng Armed Forces. Dahil ito ang dapat. Dahil may mga threat tayo, may problema sa labas at sa loob, security-wise, defense-wise. So ito yung gusto. Alam ng Armed Forces yon, anong dapat. However, ito lang yung pera. With the limited resources, ang conclusion nun at ang pinaka ending nun is ito na lang. Ito gusto, ito dapat, pero ito lang yung pera, ito na lang. But with this system, with this new outlook, is ito yung gusto namin, ito yung dapat, ito lang yung pera, ito na muna. So there is multi-year capability development plan. So, yung gusto mong 5 taon, 5 eroplano, ay 5 kagamitan, pwede sa taong ito na muna. Pero, building block siya patungo sa 5 taon na yon. At multi-year ang approach namin. Pero yung nakikita mo yung first floor, part siya sa 5 taon na pang 5 floors siya. So, ganun lang po ang aming ginawa dito sa Armed Forces. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Bijen, no? Yung strategic talaga yung approach ninyo, ha? Okay. Dito po sa bahagi ng talakayan natin ngayon, napakahalaga ng papel ng mga sectors, ano? Ah, ang isang natutunan ko sa ISA, ang pangangailangan para sa multi-sectoral governance council sa local government unit. Na ngayon, inadopt na ng DILG, tinatawag na siyang People's Council. Ano po? Mabigat ang mga hamon kasi ng governance, and we all know that no institution can face them alone. Hindi kaya ng governor o mayor o ng isang general o maging ng isang presidente ng isang bansa na pakitunguhan lahat ng mga challenges in governance. Collaboration across sectors and regions lead to longer lasting and more widespread change, sabi nga po. But it also requires trust, shared priorities, and effective coordination. Sa puntong ito, I'd like to ask Yusek Mary Jean Pacheco, may po ba kayong multi-sectoral governance approach sa inyong sa DTI po, and how do you also introduce o paano niyo ginagawa yung mga interregional partnership kung meron sa DTI?
Ma'am Sonia, I remember when we were doing our pathways, no? So talagang laging consistent yung answer namin sa DTI na in DTI, parang embedded or it is already in the DNA of DTI to have what we call a multi-sectoral council. Talagang na siya, una na talaga si DTI kasi nga para lagi kaming kausap ng private sector. So laging private sector, government, other government agencies. So meron kaming Export Development Council, meron kaming National Competitiveness Council, meron kaming National Price Coordinating Council. So all the decisions, many of the decisions now and the guidance that we get in coming out with policy are often, they're often consulted, with the private sector. Talagang kami diyan I think this is ang sabi ko nga, we're very proud to have that DNA, So having said that, there's a second part of your question relative to interregional collaboration. Hindi pa yata ito naririnig ni Sec Jess. Baka now is the best time that I can report because, as you know, our PGS has become a family of, there are a lot of information and we are guided by the best. Our mentor, we're very happy. I've worked with Sec Jess. So, I'm very much influenced by his thinking. So, I remember him before saying, kasi BGN, di ba? Kayo sa military, meron kayong Northern Luzon, Northern Luzon Command, may Eastern Visayas Command, lahat kayo maraming command na solid. Samantalang yung region natin, Region 1, Region 2, Region 3, di ba? Sa civilian, Region 1, Region 2. Sabi ni Sec Jess, ang maganda, lalo na kung economic, supra-region, sabi niya yon. Di ko yun nakalimutan, Ma'am Sonia. So when I was tasked to head supply chain and logistics, we adopted that of SecGES. So we called it supra-regional logistics clusters. In fact, patterned after the military. So nagkaroon kami ng Northern Luzon Logistics Cluster, meron kaming Eastern Visayas, yung halos hawig na, Halos kasi nga we need to na naman ng economics of agglomeration ni Sec Jess. It really makes sense. So, alam mo ginawa po namin, So when we consulted not Region 1, Region 2, hindi. We consulted those that are within that region. Because magkakaano sila, the economy, they can really do have what we call interrelationships and a better, they share resources. So I'm glad na isa ho yun sa isang magandang nangyari na when we were able to I think there were about five logistic clusters. We're just talking of consultation. Kasi ano po ba yung valid sa consultation? Yan, nailagay ho namin, yung ano yung pangangailangan ng mapa, ng roads, ng cold chain, saan ba yung ating kailangan na meron tayong ports, lahat ho yun, na-identify sa logistics. Kasi ngayon talagang kinaklaro natin to dapat ito yung dito tayo maglalagay ng kung saang klaseng logistics infrastructure. So, that no, Miss Sonia, is, I think, one of the things that we've learned, and something that, of course, I think Sec Jess, because after all that idea really came from him, and something that we believe is useful kasi talagang ganun na tayo kaysa ano yung building, di ba, kunyari one region at a time. Imagine mo kung agglomeration, di ba, madali, maganda, tsaka they sink in, no, and we leverage on each other's resources. So yun, that's only lang one, and there are lots more that we can ano, because as DTI we work a lot with the regions, in the regions. We also work a lot with private sector and fellow government and also non-government organizations.
Thank you very much, Yusek. Gusto kong balikan naman ngayon si Doktora Otaysa kasi parang interesado akong malaman, yung hospital ba, meron din siyang parang collaboration with the different sectors? At kasi parang naalala ko na meron akong binabasa, no? Ang dami-dami kasing mga hadlang din, no, sa collaboration, kung minsan nakakasakit ng ulo o ganyan. Pero sabi nga po, hindi naman pwedeng hindi tayo makipag-collaborate. Actually, requirement na ng PGS yung multi-sectoral, di ba, na approach. So we'd like to know, Dr. Otaysa, paano po ginagawa ito? How do you do it in the hospital? This collaboration thing that we all need to embark on para po malampasan natin yung mga challenges of doing things alone. Doktora?
Yeah, it's I guess it's a way of translating how we do our work. For example, because of the Public Act that increased our bed capacity, we were given all this plantilla for doctors, etc. The other plantilla, we were able to fill up immediately, but we didn't have enough doctors. In fact, that's why we put up a college of medicine. We pushed the state university beside us to put up a college of medicine so we could get more doctors into the hospital. Because of the vacant plantilla, what I did was to offer it to the other hospitals of the Department of Health. Kasi sila rin kulang eh. And nauna lang kaming na-approvean ng law. And Siyempre, in the beginning, I wasn't sure kung okay ba yun, pwede ba yun. But, we were going through the correct processes, so hindi magre-reklamo sa civil service. And then eventually, umabot sa central office that this is what we've been doing in the north. So, one ako sa Ritar, ganyan, tapos meron pa kami sa Bataan, meron pa ako sa Tondo. So, we were sharing our plantilla with them. And central office took notice and put together a technical working group so that I guess guidelines on sharing plantilla could be used by the entire DOH. No, kasi there are really some places where we still don't have the people to fill up the plantilla. We're not just going to put it up left and right. So we were lending the plantilla. Now for the other sectors, in our multi-sectoral governance council, we have businessmen, and they're keen on helping the hospital develop. And actually, one of the feedback, our chair before was very flattered and pleased that we were listening to their suggestions, because they wanted also to be able to experience the services of the hospital. We have the only cath lab here in Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur area, Apayao and Upper Cagayan. So, syempre, kami yung unang pupuntahan. But they wanted to access private accommodations that's not the top of our priority for expenses. So they were willing to put out the money to invest in it. And so we have now a group of rooms we called Maharlika Suites, because when we became the presidential province, we had to have accommodations fit for the president. And that's one of the parallel objectives when we work with the businessmen. I guess that would be my short answer for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much po, Doktora. There are two more questions in part 4 of our panel discussion. There are 4 of you, and we have only 14 minutes remaining. So Ngayong 25 years na po yung ISA, sabi nga, panahon na para bumuo ng isang national transformation roadmap. And this is what we have all been excited to do together. We are called to build a strategy that goes beyond one term, one project, or one office, and instead align efforts towards long-term, inclusive, and measurable national development. Ito po yung this is actually the message of Dr. Jess Estanislao in his opening statement a while back. At I think everyone is interested to find out sa inyo pong sariling paraan, sa inyong sariling pag-iisip, sa inyong pananaw, paano ba kayo bilang mga institusyon makakapag-contribute to a shared national transformation roadmap? Kasi marami nagsasabi, even pag pinag-uusapan natin ang problema natin sa educational system, I read the EDCOM2 report several times at narinig ko rin nagsasalita yung mga senador na bahagi ng EDCOM at saka yung mga educators who come to us to, in my program, I get to interview them a lot. And everybody's saying sa educational system sa Pilipinas daw, everyone is working in silos, magkakahiwalay. So hindi malaman kung saan tayo patungo talaga. But the reverse is happening in ISA because we're all talking now of shared national transformation roadmap. So I'd like to know, BJ and Paloma, how are you going to contribute to a shared national transformation roadmap before I ask the other panelists this same question? Sir, go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. So napakaganda ng tanong, no? Yung national in scope. So unang-una, gusto ko lang ilagay ang konteksto that this is a culture thing. Yung bayanihan concept, the whole of nation, the whole of society, and the whole of government approach. So ito po yun, hindi ito bago. So how do we align with the next 10 to 20? Balikan ko lang yung sa armed forces, nasa 2040 na po kami, naka-angkla po tayo sa Ambition 2040. So yung AFP, Army and Navy. So papunta na po doon because of alignment. So paano po ito? On our part, para sa kaalaman ng lahat ay naging participant din tayo doon sa pagbuo nitong National Transformation Roadmap 2 years ago with retired General Madrigal, now with the National Security Administration, with Colonel Jaji, now in Zamboanga, and Police Brigadier General Baraceros of the PNP then. So naging kabahagi kami rito. So paano kami maka-align dito? So meron po sa all government agencies, kami mga karamihan in the government agency, meron po tayong national security policy. Yung NSP, so entire history po ng Pilipinas ay 3 lang po ang nagawa nito, nakatatlo. 2 doon para i-execute siya, meron pong national security strategy, nakadalawa din po. At yung sa 2 na yon, ngayon po ginagawa ng National Security Administration, yung security na yon, food security, environment security, power security, and all yung health security natin. So dito po, i-align po natin. Yung ina-align po namin ito. Kasi meron national security strategy, yung Department of Defense po, meron din siyang national defense strategy. At kami din po sa armed forces, meron kaming national military strategy. Naka-align po yun. At on one side, itong ginawa po ng ISA, the National Transformation Roadmap, magkakamukha po ito because I've seen it, I've participated at dito din po sa NSS na ginagawa ngayon ongoing, nagawa ng National Roadmap sa National Security Policy and Strategy, ay meron din po siyang scorecard. So I've seen it, halos 80 to 90% magkakamukha siya. So the quick answer to this is that let us align. Makita natin yung bigger picture of the macro perspective that there is such thing as national interest ng buong Pilipinas as written in the National Security Policy and National Security Strategy. At bababa po yan sa bawat ahensya at bawat department at bababa din yan po dito sa atin sa opisina at sa personal natin at sa pamilya natin. Ganon po ang ating contribution sa National Transformation Roadmap. Hindi lang sa gobyerno, but all other sector. It is cultural in nature, that is bayanihan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, BJ.